What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel, and thank you very much for stopping by. If you're new to the channel, go ahead and hit the subscribe button right now. Hit the bell as well. You want to stay up to date on what's going on. A lot happening. I know I say it every time, but the day is coming faster and faster to when we get the car tuned, and hopefully by then we got everything done to it. So there's a lot of stuff to get done over the next couple of weeks. So stay tuned for that. Just a quick video for you today. As you know, if you've been following along, recently installed the strut tower brace from Megan Racing. I pointed out a couple of issues that I had with it during the install, but I've been driving the vehicle for a few weeks now with that part installed, so I just wanted to give a quick update, my opinion on it, and some thoughts about what's happening as I move forward with some of these modifications and things of that nature. So not a super exciting video, but something that you may find helpful if you're currently driving a Q50 or Q60 and you're thinking about getting one of these strut tower braces. So let's go for it. Ultimately, my goal with this video is to not only give you my opinion and perspective on the Megan Racing strut tower brace or strut tower braces in general, but my goal really is to help you decide whether or not this modification is, or this part is worth purchasing. I know some of you are well versed in car modifications or aftermarket parts for cars, especially when it comes to the Q50s and Q60s. But some of you guys, and you know, watching these videos are new to not only Infinities but new to car modifications in general. So you know, if you're a car guy or well versed in these platforms, just bear with me. But if you're new to the channel, hopefully, or you're new to this world of modifications and upgraded parts and whatnot, hopefully this is helpful for you. So that's what I'm gonna try to accomplish with this video. So let's go for it. What is a strut tower brace? What does it do? What's it for? Is it worth it? Is it necessary? All that stuff. Let's go for it. If you were to open the hood of your car, any car, not just the Q50 or Q60, you'll see two towers, conical shaped towers, or maybe they're square shape or rectangular, on each side of your engine bay directly above your tires. That's where your struts come up through and are bolted down, secured to the body of your car. It's what ties your suspension to your chassis, basically, or the body of your car. So those are the strut towers. The idea of the brace is to tie those two things together, and the result of it is the stiffening of your car's body. It works, I don't want to say the same or similar, but it works kind of in conjunction with sway bars. It's along the similar line of other chassis stiffening parts like subframe connectors or subframe braces. There's some different things that are available for these cars, and a lot of different things you can do to cars of all sorts. So that basically is what a strut tower brace does. It ties the two sides of your car together. So what's the purpose of that? So body roll or chassis flex is something that always happens. It's less prominent or less significant in everyday driving situations. But when you enter a corner or you enter a curve in your car, there's weight transfer. The weight of your car shifts, and therefore it twists the body of your car a little bit as well. Obviously that's amplified and magnified when you're entering corners much faster. So when you're coming into a corner really hard, the weight is transferred. Obviously you're taking a hard left turn, weight is transferred to the right. You'll feel that in your car because your body wants to go that way as well. So when your chassis is twisting and the body of your car is twisting, all that weight will continue with the scenario. You're taking a hard left curve, so the weight is transferred to the right side of your car, so all the weight is going down to that right tire, and some of the weight is being reduced on your left side tires. That is going to reduce the amount of grip those tires have, and therefore you know, reducing the handling capabilities of your car. Obviously when you're racing, you want all four of your tires to be planted firmly on the ground, giving you the best traction, the best grip. So this is why I said the strut tower brace is related to sway bars and other subframe connectors, body and chassis stiffening parts that you can get. The goal of the subframe connectors or the strut tower brace is to keep your body, your car's body or your car's chassis stiff. So when you enter those corners hard, the two sides are more tied together. That's going to keep all 4 tires firmly planted flat on the ground. So this is where the discussion begins, as far as whether or not the strut tower brace really does anything, or if it's very effective, or if it's worth purchasing. So now that we have kind of a general understanding of what these types of parts do and what this strut tower brace aims to do, let's talk a little bit about my experience with this part. So if you watch that video that I put up recently, the installation of the part was pretty straightforward. It was relatively easy. You can easily install this part in less than 30 minutes. You don't have to really take anything out of the car. You just loosen a few bolts, put the brackets down, and mount the brace between the 2 brackets. Very simple, easily doable in less than a half an hour. With that being said, this Megan Racing strut tower brace in particular, the badge that comes on it is centered on the brace but off center from the engine bay, so that was kind of annoying. I didn't really like the looks of it, and we'll take a look at that in a second. But the price was good. I think I got mine for less than $80, which is a pretty good deal, I thought. And I figured, you know, whether it does anything or not, it really doesn't matter. I mean, 80 bucks is $80. I can certainly put that toward a set of wheels, which I really, really need. But it wasn't super expensive to where, you know, if I didn't feel it necessarily, it wasn't going to be that big of a deal. It kind of dressed up the engine bay a little bit. It's a nice polished metal, and it looks good under the hood. And, you know, I guess that was worth $80 anyway. Like I said, it went in really, really easily, and it looks good. The quality of the part seems to be relatively decent. I like that it's a nice flat piece of metal. It looks good. It looks sleek. There's a couple other alternatives. Tanabe is one of them. It's red. I didn't really like the look of the red. I like the engine bay to be relatively subtle, which is why I chose the black silicone intake tubes rather than the blue or the red, and which is kind of why my attention went toward the Megan Racing strut tower brace, even though it's Megan Racing and there's varying opinions about that brand. It just was kind of a sleek, clean, subtle look to me, which is why I went that way. So let's take a look under the hood first before we talk about whether or not this part actually did anything for me or not. If you've been following along, you've seen the part in the engine bay before, but it looks pretty good. Actually, after installation, I tried to retighten the bolts, but they were very firm, so they didn't loosen up at all. So the lock washers or crush washers that are in there actually did the trick. Like I said, the badge was off center, but I used this nice Z1 Motorsport decal to put on there and kind of dress it up a little bit. I will say the one thing that I don't like, however, is on this one side, the bracket actually rubs a bit on my intake tube. Not all that significant. I'm just going to have to keep an eye on it and make sure it doesn't rub as the engine flexes. But that's kind of really my only complaint besides the badge. But otherwise, the quality seems decent. But as you can tell, the strut tower brace here and the strut tower on that side and the strut tower on this side are tied together by this, if you're not familiar. So this is where your suspension is mounted to the body of your car on both sides, and it holds the two together, and that being stiff metal, obviously, and rigid. When you take corners, the intention of the part is to hold firmly and kind of reduce the amount of flex in your car's chassis. Okay, it's freezing cold, so I had to come back in here, but hopefully you can see it looks pretty decent, and hopefully if you're not familiar with this, you get an idea of what the point of this strut tower brace is. So here's the big question: did it do anything? Does it do anything? I will say not that I can tell. To be honest, I haven't pushed the car really hard. I haven't pushed it as hard as I did in the mountains several weeks ago, or a few months ago now at this point. But in everyday driving situations, you're not going to be able to tell that that brace is there. However, the point or the reason that I made this purchase was because the goal is to set this car up to do those mountain runs, to be kind of a weekend warrior, and push the car in driving conditions like that, driving on the twisties and the windies. Even in that scenario, I'm not sure that this strut tower brace is going to be all that effective or have that much of an impact. Surely it does tie your strut towers together, and there has to be some increased rigidity because of it. So I'm not going to say it does nothing, but I think where I'm really going to feel it is when we get the sway bars installed. And that's something I am going to be purchasing relatively soon. In conjunction with the sway bars, I think it's going to make a huge difference. Even if I don't get a front sway bar, I think, you know, and I'm also looking at some other chassis stiffening parts. There's some things on Concept Z's website that you can get. There's a triangular one, there's a rectangular one that ties that your subframe together, and it's going to really stiffen up this front end. The three of those parts together, the strut tower brace, the body stiffening or the chassis stiffening brackets or braces that you can get for this car, combined with the rear sway bar, I think is going to really make a big difference. It's going to keep the front tires planted flat on the ground, which is going to give me better traction entering corners. So it will reduce some of that understeer, hopefully. I could definitely feel taking hard corners in the mountains that the nose kind of dives in, and you find that the rear tires are really pushing the car around the corner rather than the front end of the car driving, which is what I want. When I want the steering to be super responsive and precise, and I think stiffening up the front end of this car is going to make a big difference. After all my rambling, what am I trying to get at here? I would say this purchase is worth it to me. For less than $100, you really can't find many aftermarket parts that are going to help your car's performance for less than $100. And even if it's not something that really helps me out on daily driving, knowing that combined with some of the other modifications that I have coming up, and putting them to the test in in a little tougher or more spirited driving conditions, that it's going to help the car keep traction or keep grip especially toward the front end and the front tires. That is worth it to me. So I would say if you are looking to do any type of driving where you're doing a lot of this, I would say the strut tower brace for under $100 is a pretty good buy. If you're simply doing straight line racing, the car's not making that much torque, to be honest. You'll see some cars at the drag strip, they'll twist a little bit and pull one tire off the ground, or you'll really see it squat down as the rear tires grip up. But these cars with torque numbers under 300 horsepower, even after a tune and full bolt-ons, or 300 foot-pounds of torque, I should say, not 300 horsepower, you're not getting a ton of chassis flex, honestly. So especially in the front end of the car where the weight is transferred to the back at launch anyway, it might not be a purchase that's worth it for you. But I would say if you're a canyon carver, a weekend warrior, mountain runner, or you want to get to the tail of the dragon, it might be a good purchase for you. If you want to just dress up the engine bay, it's a good purchase as well, because obviously it looks pretty good if you're willing to pull the badge off and put your own decal on there. Well, I hope this video was helpful. I hopefully was able to steer you in one direction or the other toward whether or not you should purchase the Megan Racing strut tower brace or not. Again, you're not going to feel it in everyday driving situations, but if you plan on making other modifications to your car, or you plan on driving in the mountains or twisty roads, it's probably a good purchase. If nothing else, it dresses up the engine bay for less than $100. So there you go. With that being said, I wanted just to touch on a couple of things that we got coming up to make sure you stay tuned. As I mentioned in my previous video, I had some parts coming in for the exhaust system, including a flange and a Y pipe and things like that. We're getting that stuff set up. That stuff did come in. as I said, I've started to film a little bit of it, but haven't really got a chance to mock it up and weld it together and get all that figured out yet. So I'm putting that video together. It's coming. It's just not ready yet, and I just don't have enough footage there to make it worth uploading. But I wanted to let you know that it's happening. The other thing is, as I mentioned just briefly in this video, I'm looking at some sway bars for this car. Obviously, Stillen is a name brand that's out there for sway bars. There's not a lot of options, to be honest. Hopefully that changes in the future, but for now, there's really 2 that I've been able to find. And Hotchkiss is the other. It comes, you can get them both, I think, for less than $400 right now, front and back. They're adjustable as well, to 3 different adjustments. And I think Stillen is adjustable to 3 different adjustments as well. But the Hotchkiss ones are about $50 or $60 cheaper than the Stillen ones, which is attractive. So I think that's the route I'm going to go. I'm trying not to let my wife know, so don't tell her. But got to make some more purchases coming up and do it as stealthily as possible. What she doesn't know doesn't hurt her, right? So keep it quiet. I really need some wheels and tires though, so I'm trying to prioritize some of these purchases. And we got the tune coming up, which is not cheap, on March 4th. So stay tuned for that. So again, trying to prioritize some of these purchases and some of these installs, but trying to keep the videos coming as well. Something very interesting and exciting is I think I got a lead on some tires. And if I can get tires for free, I'm going to be a little bit less picky on the brand. But like I've said before, I'm always down for testing things out and trying them out, and especially if they don't cost you anything. So not going to mention it here, but I think I'll make a video on it later on. They are some tires that are maybe a lesser known brand, but some of the reviews that I've seen on them actually are pretty decent. And the price is actually really, really good. So if they're of any quality at all, they might be a good purchase, and hopefully it makes it for a good video and a good review, and get some guys some options on tires that are on a budget. So stay tuned for that as well. A lot of stuff happening, a lot of stuff coming up. It's a very exciting time. It's freezing cold today, but the weather should be changing here soon. That's my hope. So then we can really get into some good stuff and some more driving related videos. So thank you all very much for watching. Thank you very much for subscribing. I appreciate the support and all the feedback. And I got a mic also. Don't have it today, but I got a new, the lapel mic that I mentioned came in. Just need to find my adapter, and we'll hook it up to the camera, and hopefully that helps with any of the volume issues that some of you guys have expressed that you're having. With that being said, thank you very much again, and we'll see you in the next video.